And for a scoop and score on his very first drive, then picked off on his second drive before punching one in on the ground from 50 yards out on his third drive of the game. Trevion Williams gave the Lions the lead for a good rushing touchdown in the third to go on to win 17-13. Today's preseason action. Let's go ahead and bring in Ryan Wilson and Tyler Sullivan. Gentlemen, great to see you. Ryan, I'll start with you and Jayden Daniels for the Washington Commanders. Very, very small sample size, just one series. He was in there for Washington before they shut him down. But I guess any kind of rep is valuable at this point. What did you take away from the limited look we got from Daniels today?
Hey, Jordan. Hey, Sally. Good to see you guys. And we sort of talked about it jokingly, half jokingly. He didn't get hurt, and that's a great start for Jayden Daniels. You want to get him out there. You want him to get into the flow of an offense. You want him to see other teams across from him that aren't his teammates and get accustomed to what that looks like. And we saw him for a handful of snaps, and then he went and sat down and held the clipboard and got out of the way and didn't get hit on the sidelines. So that's a good start. But at the end of the day, this team, as we saw in 2024, is only going to go as far as he takes them. And the defense has to play better. And I thought the defense actually did play well to start this game for Detroit. Got that touchdown on that first drive on a fumble. So that's good news as well. But Jayden Daniels plus an improved defense means this team is going to be competitive in the division. Or if not, it's going to look like 2025. I will say this, and you see Ethan Caliphanis' name at the top there. 7th round pick out of Rutgers. He was a late riser during the draft process. I was glad to see him get out there, and he was slinging it a little bit against second, third teamers, but that's okay. He might have a chance to make this team since Marcus Mariota got banged up and may not be ready for the start of the season.
And I'll echo what Wilson was saying there with Jayden Daniels. Number one priority, get out of a preseason game healthy. Played one series and got sacked, though. So a little bit of a concern there right out of the gate there for Jayden Daniels. The offensive line had a really bad lapse that led to that sack. And that's a little sneaky story here for the Commanders as we go into this season. That came from the interior. But you got to remember, they lost Laramie Tunsil for the season. So, that protection's going to be a question here for Jayden Daniels. And we know what happened last year when injuries started to creep in. The entire season went sideways. And I will say that one guy that I do like, Chigakonkwo, he caught a pass from Sam Hartman, but that's a guy I think that could be the security blanket for Jayden Daniels amid questions along the offensive line. He could maybe hit his tight end on quicker routes there. The other thing that, Wilson, you talked about it a little bit too, generating turnovers. That's something that the Commanders were unable to do last season. I believe they only had 10 last year, and the only team that had fewer were the New York Jets, and you don't want to be anywhere remotely close to the conversation with the New York Jets. So if they can start generating turnovers, give Jayden Daniels short fields, that's going to help the Commanders bounce back in 2026.
Not a team you want to share the same numbers as, that's for sure. Let's go to Cleveland now, Tyler. The Browns taking on the Bills here, and the story, of course, is another opportunity for Shedeur Sanders as he competes for his place in that Browns quarterback room. What stood out to you most about what we saw from Shedeur today?
Well, let's set the stage here a little bit. Going into this preseason game, Todd Monken has not announced a starter. So technically, this is still up for grabs. And you have Shedeur Sanders right out of the gate, 4 for 4, touchdown drive, and really made some impressive throws out there on that opening drive in particular. Made a 4th down conversion. I thought he stood well in the pocket throughout the afternoon, and I think he did pretty much everything you could ask for a player pushing to be the week 1 starter. And yes, he did have the interception. I put that on him. Throw was a little bit behind his intended target over the middle. There really was not a lot of Buffalo Bills defenders out in front of him, so if you give that a little bit more under it, I think that could have went for a decent gain. I still think that the pass catcher should have brought that one in. If you're an NFL caliber player, you probably make that catch, but still, you put it on him if you're the quarterback. So there's some good, there's some bad, or at least still growing there with Shedeur Sanders. But overall, I thought he endeared himself. I thought that if anything, he put a little pressure on Todd Monken to make him the week 1 starter. Because if it's even between him and Deshaun Watson in terms of what we have seen this summer, you have to go with the younger player. You have to go with the potential upside. No matter how much you're paying Deshaun Watson, I think you go with the upside of Shedeur Sanders if he believes all things are equal.
Jordan, this feels like Cleveland sports radio. 2 people watching the same game coming away with different opinions. Sully is exactly right, by the way. If the young player outplays the old player, that's who you play. But in watching these snaps against the Buffalo Bills, I came away thinking that Shedeur does not look as sharp as he needs to look if he wants to win this starting job. Even on the throws that were open, he was sometimes late getting the ball out and even not insanely accurate on those throws, even though the receivers made plays just because they were so wide open. Sully talked about the interception, and we agree that's on Shedeur. You can't do that. But the other thing that I keep coming back to is during the week in joint practice, C.J. Gardner-Johnson of the Buffalo Bills kept calling Shedeur check down king. We saw glimpses of that today, too. You never go broke taking a profit is the joke I like to make. But I don't know. Todd Monken's in his first year. They don't have to win. They're not going to win the division. But do you want to win, have an opportunity to win 6 games or 2 games? And that's the concern based on what we've seen. I was hoping for more from Shedeur. We'll find out Monday, according to Todd Monken. But it feels like his odds maybe got a little longer from my perspective, while it sounds like Sully feels like maybe the race got a little tighter.
Let's hope we get some answers soon. Like you said, hopefully we find out come Monday there in Cleveland. Let's get to the Falcons and Colts now, Ryan. We knew that this one we weren't going to see many of the established starters, which means this game was really about the guys fighting for some roles. Who, in your opinion, helped themselves the most today?
Look, man, we give the Miami Dolphins a lot of guff and the Cardinals for being not very good football teams, expecting as we head into the season. The Indianapolis Colts are making a run for the money there. They are setting football back a long ways with these 2 first preseason games. Preseason week 1, they had 4 turnovers, 2 courtesy of Anthony Richardson. Week 2, penalties plagued both sides, and the quarterback situation behind Daniel Jones, who's coming off that Achilles, ain't exactly setting the world on fire. So there are questions about Riley Leonard, who flashed at times in this game, but also missed throws that we've seen him miss both as a rookie and last week. And Anthony Richardson with the insane physical flashes, coupled with the head scratching, like, what are we doing plays? Did you just start playing football 2 hours ago? Plays that we see from him. So there's a lot left to be desired, and I don't even want to get started on the defense, which couldn't stop anyone last week, struggled to stop anyone this week. A lot of work to do for Shane Steichen, and this is not even talking about getting your quarterback back from that Achilles injury that he missed the second half of last season.
Yeah, I'll echo that too. I think that behind Daniel Jones, you can't love anything that you've seen from the Indianapolis Colts. Riley Leonard, Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson was like 3 of 9 passing on this game. So, like, not a lot there to get excited about, especially when you're looking at a quarterback like Wilson, you said, is coming off an Achilles injury. I mean, let's remember, last year they had to knock on the door of old man Phillip Rivers to come back here to play a couple of games. So, like, there's a little bit of a concern here. I almost wonder if QB2 is on this roster right now, or you really can't feel good about the backup situation that you have behind Daniel Jones. But I will give Jack Strand his flowers there in Atlanta. I know that the Indianapolis Colts defense left a little to be desired, but what do you have to do at this time of the year, especially if you're an undrafted free agent? You have to put good tape together. I thought Jack Strand did that. 12 of 17, 212, 1 touchdown, ran for a touchdown as well. That's all you can ask for at this point. I think that Cooper Rush and obviously Michael Penix, those guys are going to make the roster along with Tua Tagovailoa. Maybe this guy's a practice squad player for Atlanta, or he can find his way onto an active 53 once we get through roster cuts. But I thought that he put together some good plays today.
All right, let's finally end with Minnesota. The Vikings taking on the Ravens. Zero in on J.J. McCarthy, who played in the first quarter for the Vikings today. There were some positive moments, but also some missed opportunities. Ryan Wilson, overall, how do you evaluate his performance?
Yeah, this was a microcosm of the J.J. McCarthy experience over the first 2 years when he's been healthy in Minnesota. You see the flashes, you see the arm strength. He threw the 50-yard bomb down the sidelines after stepping up in the pocket to Ty Felton, came back and made another good throw to Ty Felton, and then he just airmails balls to wide open receivers in the end zone, and you just can't figure out why it's not working. And I'm sure I give him a lot of credit because he's only 23. He's been benched. He's the former first-round pick, 10th overall pick, and he's taking what he's having to deal with. He can control only what he can control, as he likes to say. But it just is not working to the point where not only we're talking about Carson Wentz potentially earning the backup job, and Carson played relatively well last year when he had to come in for an injured JJ, but Max Brosmer is going to be in the conversation as well, the second-year player out of Minnesota. So I would like to see more from JJ. JJ would like to see more from JJ. It just hasn't come together. One series to the next, it's okay, Sully, but over the course of a half or a season, it still has yet to become that sort of first-round product that we were hoping to see at some point.
Yeah, it's the prototypical J.J. McCarthy outing. And I just kind of want to paint a bigger picture on this. We were going into training camp where it's Kyler Murray versus J.J. McCarthy for QB1 duties. We are now leaving the second preseason game of 3 for the Minnesota Vikings, and we're talking about Carson Wentz and Brosmer potentially leapfrogging J.J. McCarthy on the quarterback depth chart. And I agree. I think that Carson Wentz should be the second quarterback behind Kyler Murray. I mean, we have seen him play better within this offense between J.J. McCarthy last season when he was fully healthy. And you have to, if you're Kevin O'Connell, put together a quarterback room where you feel like you can win, because Kyler Murray is not an Iron Man. This is not a guy that has shown that he could play a full season. That's one of the concerns I have about this quarterback room going into 2026 is, yes, Kyler Murray gives you the higher ceiling, but he also has durability concerns over the last handful of years with the Arizona Cardinals. So at some point, you might be knocking on the door of one of these quarterbacks. I think it should be Carson Wentz, given what we have seen from J.J. McCarthy in this preseason game is just a microcosm of that. He can make a 50-yard throw, even though I give a little bit more credit to the wide receiver on that play, but then he'll miss the layups. A wide open receiver in the flat, in the end zone for a touchdown. You got to make those. You can't throw it over his head. So that's kind of the rub here for J.J. McCarthy. We were once talking about him competing for the starting job. Now, maybe he's quarterback 3. In my eyes, he should be.
We will see if he continues to find his footing there and how all of these position battles kind of shake out. Gentlemen, always great to be with you as the NFL preseason continues, but we are counting down the days until September the 13th, the start of the regular season on